Welcome to a very special Thursday Burn Barrel podcast. Tom Shattuck here. Alongside me is Alice, who was called today. Somebody said she had a beautiful intellect. Very nice. That was Kevin from New York. New York!
That is very nice. Wow.
Yeah. He's
Once you're New York famous, you're really famous.
Yeah, that is true. And so there's that. You do look lovely today, Alice, I must
Thanks,
say.
honey.
But I have, unfortunately, a proclamation for you, an executive order.
Does this have to do with the receipt that you were searching for?
Correct. Which I had brought home to have in my hand to show you for the show, which, of course, 1 mile away, it is gone. I'm sure that one of our kids just felt suddenly interested in having a receipt, ripping it up and throwing it somewhere, so that was it. So anyway, that is a proclamation, is the little quaint marketplace in the middle of our town, Alice.
Mm-hmm.
We are no longer going to.
Why? What happened
It
there?
is DUN. DUN. We got a trace amount of vodka today. We got a pack of Trulies there and a couple of sandwiches. Now,
Do you want me to guess how much you spent?
sure.
$56.
Very close. Very close. So, it's always an expensive place anyway. So, but I got 2 kids with me, and after karate, and I can't deal with going multiple places.
Exactly. Yep.
So, so the kids ringing me up. Okay, they had to bring somebody over. They needed reinforcement, so they grabbed one of the kids, like a teenager or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
to ring me up, or 20-something, whatever, young guy though. Nice enough guy. He doesn't start doing anything until he sees my ID for the. So no transaction things are getting done while he sees it. So I get my ID, show him my ID. He does the booze, and then this is what throws him. There's nothing to really. Well, at least at this station, there wasn't even a scanner, or there was. He wasn't scanning. If there was,
I don't think they scan there. I think they just type
Right.
in all the prices.
So since we got sandwiches, etc., he is typing away. He's not the real cashier. He's just a reinforcement, and he's like typing away. And I'm feeling uneasy about this.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes type away, type away, type away, type away, $60. So I'm like, screw this place. I'm not. I could have gotten the same stuff for half the price anyway. So I'm like, and I felt like his typing wasn't awesome. His cashiering.
Mm-hmm.
His using the till. So it's fine. So now this is what gets me.
Yeah.
As he's putting everything away, he said, and my card's in there, he said, okay, it's whatever. Would you like a receipt? And I said, oh, yes, please. Because I want to see exactly where I was double charged and how I was double charged, etc. So he says, okay. He gives me the receipt. I walk out of the place with my stuff and my 2 of my 3 sons. You get all strapped in, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I take a look at the receipt, and guess what it says?
Not $60?
No, it just says $60.
Oh, yeah.
$60? MasterCard?
Yeah, that's all they do there.
Zero
They
do-
don't itemize.
Why am I getting an effing receipt if I'm not itemizing? What is the reason for this? What is the reason for this? I have a huge receipt that I was going to use to show you from Walmart. This is a huge receipt. This is a lot of your shopping from one of your many Walmart pinches. $182 right there. Ragu, Elf Canceller, whatever the hell that is. Antifungal, I want to ask. Banza Cavata, chickpeas, lentils, Wonder Bread, all sorts of stuff. It's itemized. What the holy frig? Do you think I'm a fan of receipts? I love little pieces of paper. Do you mind? Whatever you have there is fine. While you're out, a piece of paper is fine. Receipt, your own parking ticket, whatever you have. I'm jonesing. It's like, friggin', come on, Gen Z. Friggin' put it together.
I think, honestly, that's not on Gen Z, because
It's on
I
Gen
think
Z.
that place just does the receipts
Why are
that
they
way. I
offering
think
to give people receipts that don't do anything useful?
because they're stuck in some other decade. I don't know. When you worked at White Hand Pantry, did they have itemized receipts back then?
Of course they had itemized receipts. A-holes would scrutinize it right in front of me before they left.
So maybe I think that little market
We're not
just
going-
operates in
we're
a
not
time
going
where
back
they
there.
didn't have itemized
Okay, I'm
receipts
operating
back
at a
then.
time where I don't go there anymore from now on, and so is this family. We are out of there.
I've been trying to do that for a while, but
Wouldn't
it's hard
somebody
because
say-
it's really, really close and easy.
What is the value of a receipt if it doesn't show anything?
Well, because you can prove like that you were there and what time.
Prove that I was there. It's an alibi, Alice. In case
guess.
somebody happened to be murdered simultaneously, I can say, you know what? This suddenly has become very valuable.
I guess. I don't know.
So we're not going there anymore.
Okay.
That is over.
Right there with you, honey. Right there with you.
All right. So where would you like to start, Alice? I haven't even looked at the stuff we have since it was my day to do karate. So I wasn't.
Yeah, you took the kids to karate
wasn't in
today.
the
How
loop.
was it? How was it? By the way, did you have to do a push up today?
I didn't have to do. They never made me get on the ground today, but they made me go out there with them. It was all right. It was all right. Our son is progressing. There are areas where he needs help. But it was good. It was good. It was good.
That's great. I'm so happy
Yeah.
you went. We also ran around on a track today with all the kids
Oh, that's right.
in a rainstorm.
That's right, including yours truly, Alice, at a lightning quick clip.
It was great. We're gonna do it every day now. I think it was such fun.
All right. Where should we
We're
start?
sending stuff over to the Senate. Well, most of the product that we've done is, except
What is
now
this?
what we,
This is John sent me. It's a thing of Nancy Pelosi. You roll the dice. I think it's a joke, a parody thing, but I can't find the you and me thing. Here's you and I. But thank you, John. I will enjoy that in a moment. Here is KJP. Today we've learned today that we indeed are in a recession, but this is about COVID stuff, and this is
By a common rule of thumb that many people have, and definitely not the actual definition of recession, which we, fortunately for the Democrats in the midterm elections, won't really know if we were in a recession or not for sure until next year. So that's good.
You said that the two presidents discussed health security. That's pretty vague.
Biden and Xi.
Did President Biden tell Xi to start cooperating in the investigations into the origin of COVID that killed at least 1 million Americans? or
Yes,
no?
I'm aware how many Americans that COVID killed. I'm very aware of that. Clearly, the president just dealt with a bout of COVID, and because of him and because of the work that he has done the last 18 months, we are able to have a manageable process with treatment, and if you're vaccinated, if you're fully boosted, you're able to manage COVID. And I just want to remind you, since you brought this up, when the
you can't have this.
Yeah, he asked an actual question about Xi and,
Right.
security and diseases and the origins of COVID.
Right.
Not about whether or not there's vaccines.
You can't
now.
have this. You can't have this.
The president walked into the administration, 3,000 people were dying a day. 3,000 people were dying a day. We have gotten that number down to 90%. Still, people are dying.
The reporter should have shot back at that point and
Yeah.
said, if you're doing body counts, then the last president lost fewer than this president. He shouldn't have let it get away with that.
But we have gotten, because of the work that we have done, we've gotten it down to 90%. And we're going to continue to do the work to make sure that we protect the American people. So, first of all, I just want to make sure that's very clear. We were given a disjointed response to COVID, and the president had to turn that around.
God, they are sensitive about COVID, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they know that it's their only thing where they have any credibility left with anyone at all. I mean,
Do
really,
they, though?
they shouldn't, but it's the only issue that there are. I mean, comparatively, right? Like, compared to how they're handling the economy and how they're handling the border and how they're handling foreign policy and how they're handling the baby formula crisis and how, like, literally everything else. Their numbers on COVID aren't
But
as
she
disastrous.
she didn't have to absorb this. This was a question about really China.
And Biden's phone call with China today.
Right.
So you don't have to, but she just saw an opportunity. He said the word COVID, so I'm going to spin our COVID success story again because that's the only thing I have to say about the administration that can possibly be construed as positive.
Right, and she's ultra sensitive at the very beginning to her assuming that he was taking a shot at her when he said we lost 1 million people. Yes, I'm very aware of how many people we lost. I know that. This is not going to last, I don't think.
That's the first thing I want to say. I am just not going to go beyond what I just laid out.
So that's not the answer to my question. And last August, the president said in a statement that the Chinese have not been cooperating. We're going on a year now.
And I just said that.
Yeah, you also said that, but you can't tell us whether or not the president pressed Xi to be more cooperative.
I'm just not going beyond. I am not going to go beyond the readout that I just gave you.
You know what? If the administration, honestly, is going to only give her little things to read, or like when Biden's sick, just send a note from his doctor or whatever, and she can't go beyond the written statements that she reads off to the media, then you really don't actually need to have her there or have a press briefing at all.
You know what? I bet you they wouldn't have them if they weren't afraid it made them look unorthodox and abnormal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they probably wouldn't have them but the problem is that for a while Trump didn't have them, so I think they said,
well, yeah, and they all hyperventilated when that
right,
happened.
but then they're saying, and then I think they said we can't do anything that Trump did, so we have to have them and show normalcy. But she's not normal. She doesn't help with normalcy. She sucks at this.
Right.
She sucks.
But
and
it's
you know what else? You know what else? It's freaking an insult to black lesbians. It is.
Yeah.
It is that you said. All you need to notice that this is a black lesbian. It's a first, so let's see how she does. It's a first. Here you go. So like there are, I would say, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of probably not hundreds of, maybe, who knows, of very competent black lesbians who are awesome at what they do. They found an idiot. They did.
I mean, that's true. She's really, really bad at this. It's very incredible, actually, how bad she is at this, and especially after Psaki, who, though, I mean, we weren't big Psaki fans in general, but she was very competent at spinning and lying and dunking on the press or whatever you wanted her to do. You wouldn't have been getting these weird non-answer reading off something that she clearly has never read before and is just finding out about two things. Like, it's so weird. I don't understand. Is anybody running the store here?
Well, what Psaki had, which is different.
She was quick on her feet, at least.
Yeah, but Psaki had a lot of experience. She'd been a flack for a long time. She also worked over at the State Department or the Pentagon, and she actually, it gets tough there sometimes.
Right.
So she actually had to deal with some stuff over there.
Right, that's where Matt Lee is, right, from AP. He's tough, yeah.
Oh, he's vicious, yes.
So the White House's preference would be for small towns in Texas and Arizona to have to take care of these migrants rather than a large metropolitan city like Washington, D.C.
That is not what I said.
That is what you said.
No,
You said you think that people are using migrants.
Yeah, they are. They're sending migrants to big cities on purpose,
So
using them as a political ploy.
So if they don't go to big cities, where should they
There's
go?
a process. I just laid it out.
There's
There's
a process, and they come to a big city, and now the mayor says she needs the National Guard.
That's because Republicans are using migrants who are coming here for who knows, because they're dealing with humanitarian issues back in their country. They're coming here for a better life, and they are being used, Peter. They're being used by Republican governors. That is what's happening.
You know what this is? Mm-hmm. This is a Democrat saying, only we get to use migrants.
Yeah, they're our political tool.
Yes. No, absolutely. When we bust them around the country, that's one thing.
And meanwhile, Haitian people just, there was a drowning of several Haitian people trying to get into the U.S. by boat as well. It's like, it's out of control what's happening right now. Like, there's a massive influx, and it's not just from Mexico, and it's not just from the Northern Triangle. It's from a bunch of different places, and it's risking and endangering people's lives. It is. It's getting these people killed in order to get here because Biden has told them to come.
Make the president want to say this is causing a lot of burdens on small cities, big cities. Maybe I should just close the border.
What I'm saying is what Republicans are doing is wrong, and there is a process in place, and we should follow the process. There's a legal process in place, and they should follow it. Okay.
They can come into the country, just not into New York or D.C. They're allowed in Texas and Arizona, and then they can't go anywhere else. Like, What is that answer supposed to be?
I don't know. It's better than this answer.
Also, relatedly, the China call, online business records suggest that the First Son still holds a 10% stake in a Chinese investment fund. Is it possible to have basic transparency there on whether he actually divested that stake or not?
So your last questions, I would refer you to his representatives. That's not something that I can speak about from here at the podium.
When are the Hunter Biden press conferences, by the way? When does Hunter Biden's press secretary give a press conference to the White House press pool? I'm just curious because she keeps referring them to go talk to his representatives, so I'm wondering when that happens.
Today, the president argued that the economy is not in a recession. And it was a year ago that the president said that inflation would be temporary. So the question is, why should Americans take his word for it now when the president got it wrong on the economy a year ago?
So here's, when we talk about recession and we talk about where we are currently today.
They say they spent $50,000 to get Walensky media training. Mm-hmm. She needs media training. Here's, then she'll say, because she's about to delve into the Trapper Keeper. But that's supposed to make it sound more, top of the head. It's terrible. She's also no longer smiling at any point in her press briefings.
What we look at and what we speak to is the facts, is what other experts are saying and what the textbook definition is of recession. And if you look at the pre-recession years in our history, you see that the thing that happens during a pre-recession is that you lose jobs, and we're not seeing that currently. It is not what is happening. The labor market, it has gained jobs. If you look at the first 6 months, 2.7 million jobs have been created under the president's watch. 9 million new jobs have been created.
It's a tough thing to say
Yeah,
when the economy was closed down and all the businesses were shuttered, and then you turn the lights on.
It's a tough
people
thing
ain't gonna
to
buy
say
that.
because there are still fewer people working today with all the jobs that have been created, which the Biden administration didn't create any jobs, by the way. They just...
Shit.
What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong, honey? Were you not recording?
Fuck.
What's wrong?
Yes, I'm not recording any of her, so I have none of her.
Well, I'm recording, so I have her.
I fucking hate that so much. It's because I did that promo today, and I had to take the freaking... Oh, that's a kick in the balls. Ugh.
I'm sorry, but I have everything, I believe.
Fuck you.
So did you not have the USB through on?
Correct. Because I can't have that on if I'm doing multi-track stuff with a microphone.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I have everything. I will send you...
It's my own fault.
I will send you my
audio. I
audio.
don't want to wait for your audio. I hate that. I'm now very upset.
I'll send you my
Thank you
audio.
for trying to help me, but I'm mad at me and your God right now.
I'm trying to help you because I'm not mad at you. I just want to continue on with the show. And I'm having a good time with you, and I love you. And I think that you should take a breath.
All started with the receipt. That's it.
I know. It started with the receipt, the poor receipt.
Okay.
Well, it's okay because I have stuff because I wasn't on USB. I was on an audio cable. So it's okay. Everything's fine. That's why we have a lot of redundancy here.
So you know that, guys, Alice does this a lot, if it sounds familiar.
Created the last quarter 1.2 million jobs, and we're seeing the resiliency of business investment. We're seeing the resiliency of consumer buying power, and that matters. Those are the broad factors that we...
How the frig can they possibly talk this economy up right now? What the frig are you thinking?
I know. They're out of their minds. And like I was starting to say before you had a small panic attack, there are still fewer people employed today after all these jobs came back. There are still fewer people employed today than there were in February of 2020, which is an incredible statistic I heard today. And I thought, can that be right? And I looked through it. And yeah, there's still not as many people working right now as there were then. So of course the economy has to contract. How can you not with that level? Like once you adjust for inflation, of course the economy has to contract. It only makes sense. Like we will, I think, eventually get out of this recession, especially if we had like any semi-competent economic team doing anything. Well, you never know actually, because the legislature's trying to spend a bunch more money right now, so they could totally screw things up even more. But anyway, so the idea that they can stand here and say that the economy's doing great, and I mean, Biden said today, doesn't look like a recession to me. Like,
did he say that?
Yeah.
Well, the president run the risk of looking out of touch in this moment by digging in on this definition that this moment is not a recession, if in fact at some point it's determined that that's exactly what
I have to tell you, Kristen, I don't think we're digging in. We're being asked. We're being told, and every day I've come in here, I've been asked, so Karine, what, is this a recession? So we're answering the question.
I just sent you Biden today on the recession. But yeah, it's incredible that you can't spin an economy because people are really living in it and they can really see what's happening and they know what they're feeling and what their household budget looks like. So yeah, people felt good about the economy back in the beginning of 2021 because they had enough money to get by and stuff, and that was just the very tip of the iceberg with the inflation and all this stuff. And then Biden did everything he could to destroy the fossil fuel industry the second he walked into office. He kicked off the fuel prices. We started to have more supply chain problems, and they kept pumping more money into the economy, and they tried to do more, and they would have done more if they hadn't been stopped by Manchin. So, and at the time, like, even though it destroys the country, obviously, all this, part of me that just, like, likes chaos and, the empire collapsing was almost, like, a little disappointed that they didn't ram Build Back Better through.
Well, they got a tiny version through. Or not, they haven't gotten it through yet.
Well, yeah, so that I'm doing a little bit of ram hum to get to that. Step on husband.
Go ahead.
So my point is, like, back last year when they did the Build Back Better deal and they pushed through the bipartisan infrastructure bill and then they didn't get Build Back Better, I was almost like, wow, like, maybe they won't totally destroy the economy and, like, this will be salvageable. Republicans will take back, the House and the Senate, whatever. Or maybe they won't, even if they don't totally wreck the economy. But they managed, what they did was enough, actually, to destroy the economy. Plenty, just fine. And they didn't even need Build Back Better to really do it. But it's back. It's resurrected. So they passed this stupid thing, that CHIPS bill.
Mm-hmm.
And about, like, semiconductors and bringing in a bunch of, Republicans voted for it because it's, like, supposed to bring back manufacturing here. But all these manufacturers lobbied for it super heavily because basically they just held a gun to the head of Congress and said, we're going to move all our factories and stuff overseas.
Well, but Congress was also taxing the crap out of them for 15 years. We drove them away, a lot of them.
I mean, sure, but, Congress isn't against having taxes on people. They're, like, handing the stuff out to them now, all these special investments in their industries and stuff, and they're creating special, carve-outs for them and all these things, which, like, okay, fine, I get it. A bunch of Republicans voted for it. J.D. Vance was saying he would have voted for it because it's sort of also, they got a bunch of the anti-China people on it, too, because this supposedly undercuts China's grips on the semiconductor industry. Like, all these companies were threatening to go to, like, Singapore and Germany and whatever. Like, okay, fine. So they passed this CHIPS thing, and it's a deal. Like, even McConnell votes for it because they make a deal with them that they won't do a reconciliation package if they get Republicans on board for this CHIPS deal.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 hours after they all voted for the CHIPS deal and sent it to Biden, Manchin and Schumer turned around and came out with a compromise package that Manchin has now agreed to that's for the reconciliation bill.
Wow, they lied. Where's the honor?
No, I mean, and to be honest, like, the Democrats can really do what they want anyway. Like, they can pass the reconciliation bill without any Republicans, so they didn't need them to do anything, but they got the Republicans to vote for their CHIPS thing, on the understanding they weren't going to do this, and then they did. So they're jerks. So then the Republicans were in the House were mad when the CHIPS bill came to the House, and they whipped against the CHIPS bill. They tried to get all their members not to vote for it. And I mean, plenty of them did anyway, but it's been sort of a debacle. It's been this big mess. And now they're probably going to get their reconciliation package, which we don't really exactly know everything that's in it yet. But
they've only got like a week to do,
right?
Before they go home, and also they've got to, since it's reconciliation bill, they've all this stuff has to go to committees and be scored, etc.
Right.
Which is where you could lose Manchin again.
Yeah, so it has to go to committees and be scored, and the parliamentarian has to make sure that it's actually all stuff that can be passed by reconciliation, because it's like only certain things that you can do that way in the reconciliation packages. So there's still a few hiccups that might like screw this up for them too, which is basically that, well, for one thing, Manchin's saying that there's like this disagreement on like the carried interest things in there, which Sinema has said that she's not going to vote for that. So whether or not that actually ends up in there, but it's basically all corporate taxes is how they're paying for the stuff in here that they want. And that's like one of the quote loopholes. I mean, it's something they did. It's not a loophole. It's just the law, but it's, you know, that's one of the quote loopholes that they're going to deal with, is like the carried interest loophole. So anyway, and then in addition to that, there are a bunch of congressmen in the House who say they're not going to vote for it unless it gets rid of the cap on salt taxes. So this is something that these blue state Democrats, like expensive blue state Democrats, Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, California, have all wanted ever since the Trump tax bill, which lowered taxes on like 80+% of Americans. But the people who suffered under Trump's tax bill really were people that write off a lot of their state and local taxes through the SALT deduction, which is this like state and local deduction. So Trump capped it, and he capped it at I think it's $10,000 of state and local taxes you can write off. But if you live in Connecticut or Massachusetts or New York, Dianne Feinstein was a big one on this, that like their constituents in these states, and these are like important Democrat strongholds that all voted for Biden, these constituents in these states have much bigger taxes than that they used to be able to write off. And I think it's like up mortgage interest on up to like your first $500,000 of mortgage or something. It's really for like very, very wealthy people that are upset that it's capped now. But you know, it is another tax, and these blue state Democrats in the House really want lifting that cap to be in this bill, and Manchin has said that it's not. Right. So they could fight over that. And then supposedly what he gets for this is they're going to lift some regulations so he can get a pipeline. Yeah. He can get a natural fracking pipeline or whatever. Right. A shale pipeline later on. So that's like the deal that he's made with Pelosi and Schumer here to do this. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know if it's going to actually happen. It's definitely going to be inflationary. Both these bills, the chips thing and the other thing.
That's all the messaging you need to do.
Throw money into the economy.
Now, at this time, when this administration won't even admit that there's inflation, is changing the definition, is denying it completely, is saying, in fact, the economy is much better. Now they're throwing more money out there.
And the irony is they've named this thing the Inflation Reduction Act.
Right.
There's also some like prescription drug things in there that probably aren't going to help much.
The Inflation Reduction Act, but the reason it is going to reconciliation is because there is already a bill there, which is called Build Back Better.
Right. So it's like pieces of Build Back Better.
Exactly. That's what it really is.
But it's, Manchin, they've given it a new name, so Manchin gets to say he killed Build Back Better and be a hero to conservatives in his state, which voted for Trump and for him, and Democrats are going to get here a lot of what they want if they can work out their differences pretty soon here. I mean, it stinks. It was low of them, but again, they probably were going to do this either way. They just wanted to get the chips thing, which is probably the less bad of the two things, and a bunch of squishy Republicans were probably going to vote for it anyway, so whatever. The other one that is in the news a lot is this like burn pit thing too. Have you been hearing about this? The Republicans voted against like getting VA coverage for people who worked at burn pits and stuff. Like, have you heard this?
No, I know, but it's from
like Jon
Iraq.
Stewart's mad at them too. Yeah,
okay. I'm done with him. Sorry.
It's all this stuff like because they've been exposed to toxic chemicals and that stuff's not covered as like combat injuries and stuff. So they are working to try and do this. The Republicans didn't really vote against it. They voted against the procedural step of like cloture to move it on to the final vote. They just wanted more amendments, and they weren't giving them their amendments that they wanted. The initial form of this bill before it went to the House and got fudged around a little bit is it passed the Senate 84-14. It's going to pass in some form or other. It's just a question of the Republicans getting in the amendments they want to it, and it's this technical stuff. They're not against the stupid bill. It's just,
But it is shrewd of Democrats to make Republicans look anti-veteran.
Of course, but the thing's going to pass.
Right.
And they'll all vote for it when it actually is passing. They just were voting against closure because they want more amendments on it. So it's stupid for them to say that the bill's not dead. It's going to pass. So whatever. That's our legislative update. You want to play Biden that I sent you?
Let's see what it sounds like.
What
when you and I are listening to the clips. So this is sounds that we make.
I don't want to know what sounds
I do. I want to see what's going on.
From places. And it's risking and endangering people's lives. It is. It's getting these people killed in order to get here because Biden has told them to come.
Now the clip's playing. That's my breathing.
That's my breathing.
A lot of breathing. Something's going to happen here in a second. That's my throat clearing. Let's see.
Representative, so I'm wondering when that happens.
Clips playing. Drinking.
I think that was just me drinking right now. Sorry.
We do a lot of breathing during these, I noticed. In our press briefings.
I breathe every day.
Here we go. That is one of my many bronchial cancers. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Recording.
So anyway, the
the Biden stuff?
You can play Biden about the recession today, if you're so inclined.
And just last week, as I said, SK Corporation of the Republic of Korea announced $22 billion in new investment in semiconductor batteries, chargers, and medical devices, creating another 16,000 jobs here in America. And this is powering the strongest rebound in American manufacturing in over 3 decades, creating 613,000 manufacturing jobs. Passing the CHIPS bill is going to put another $72 billion for incentives and tax credits to expand semiconductor production. And the Inflation Reduction Act will add another $370 billion in clean energy tax credits in reconciliation, including incentives to accelerate domestic production of solar panels, wind turbines, batteries, and critical materials processing. That doesn't sound like a recession to me. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's great. That's great. What a fool. That's great. So interesting. He just talked about the Inflation
Reduction
Act. So Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about that. Well, since he's bragging about it, she should probably be up on it.
I'm wondering where the White House sought assurances that the tenets of that legislation would in fact lower inflation.
I'm not gonna get into specifics or into negotiations.
Sounds good.
What can she talk about? Can I just ask? Does she? What kind of questions are they expecting her to take out there? Because it's obviously not any of these that are like about what's going on in the world or anything like that. What are they planning? What do they think the reporters are going to be asking her?
About her historic firstness, I think. So this Congresswoman Porter, who tries to be this like real-time mom kind of a congresswoman. I think she's from California. I'm not sure though. She's got the CEO of Ruger up in one of the committees, and of course you can imagine she's always like how much to CEOs. She's like, how much did you make last year? That seems like she's trying to be. Anyway, she's a dumb, but everybody thinks she's very clever because she does to do this populist stuff. This is her talking about doing an intellectual maneuver for all of us with the CEO of Ruger, gun maker, in front of her.
Do not sell any type of firearm this way. Our customers have not asked for such.
Okay, so that's a no. This is my cell phone. Mr. Kelly, it scans my fingerprint each time I go to unlock it. Is this a weapon?
No, ma'am.
Can this fire bullets that shred people's vital organs? This phone?
No, Congresswoman, it can't.
Then why should this device require more steps to operate than your company's firearms, which have been used in accidental shootings, mass shootings, and homicides?
Congresswoman, respectfully, your cell phone doesn't generate internal pressures of upwards of 60,000 pounds per square inch. The operating system of a firearm is extremely dynamic, extreme high pressures, lots of moving pieces, and first and foremost.
What happened?
I don't know. I don't hear him anymore.
Reclaiming my time.
Maybe they muted him. Anyway, he's doing a great job of answering the question.
Yeah.
Because he's pointing out how absurd it is, because obviously it's two different things.
Reclaiming my time. These fingerprint scanners are offered in some firearms. Some manufacturers sell this, and they work. Your company and Mr. Daniels' company chooses not to. Let me demonstrate again how long this takes.
She's holding her cell phone up. Anyway, so you see, this is where we are now.
And they're just doing it so they can, like, cut ads that say she's holding the gun manufacturers accountable or whatever. I think they need to get the stupid cameras out of there, because I think it's so bad that they all perform like this in there. I think it's awful. I think it's awful when Republicans do it, too. It's just obnoxious.
Yeah, it is. It is. When any of them do it, it's just pure horse bleep.
It's terrible. Well, our listeners here, your Connecticut listeners, heard some stuff about Mark Zuckerberg today that our listeners didn't hear yet. So should we talk a little bit about what's going on at Facebook quickly? Yes. So Facebook had is having kind of a rough time at the moment. Zuckerberg's a big believer that we're headed into a pretty tough economy at the moment, contrary to what the White House says. He said that we've entered an economic downturn that will have a broad impact on the digital advertising business. He said that, we're entering...
So in other words, he said there's a lot of bad seas coming ahead. And what's the beautiful stuff he said?
So then this online magazine, The Verge, got a hold of one of their internal all-hands Zoom meetings where he said all this bad stuff is happening and things are going to get tougher and all these things. And what do you suppose the first employee question is? The first pre-recorded employee question started, "Hi there, I'm Gary, and I'm located in Chicago." His question, will Meta Days, the extra days off introduced during the pandemic, continue in 2023? Zuckerberg appeared visibly frustrated. All right, he stammered.
Oh, we need this audio.
He had just explained that he thought the economy was heading for one of the worst downturns that we've seen in recent history. He had already frozen hiring in many areas. TikTok is eating their lunch, and it would take over a year and a half before they had any line of sight to overtaking it. Given my tone and the rest of the Q&A, you can probably imagine what my reaction to this is, Zuckerberg said. After this year, Meta Days are canceled.
Ooh.
So
I love it.
As the all-hands meeting escalated, it became clear Zuckerberg saw that fixing his company's culture was critical to surviving the tough times ahead. 2 years into the pandemic, his company was in a very different, more vulnerable place. The days of coddling employees would be over. Realistically, there are probably a bunch of people at the company who shouldn't be there, Zuckerberg said on the June 30th
That's beautiful.
call. And part of my hope by raising expectations and having more aggressive goals and just kind of turning up the heat a little bit is that I think some of you might just say that this place isn't for you. And that self-selection is okay with me.
That's fantastic. Oh, I'd love to hear this. In other words, they're like their free Skittles station and cappuccino service is going away. Bye-bye.
The consensus among employees is that internal morale has been hit harder than in past scandals.
Welcome to the world.
The stock taking a hit has hurt their compensation, so somebody else in the meeting...
Internal morale. It's like in my radio station, you step over the bodies of the promotion, the street teamers who, only a few years ago were full of hope and vigor.
Another question that he got at the all-hands meeting was, seems like other companies are compensating their employees because of the stock dip, one staffer wrote. Will Meta also compensate in a similar fashion?
Jesus.
He said, I get that it can be painful when there's volatility in the middle of the year, but I think, frankly, I want the teams working on products and the things we need to ship out right now. Layoffs weren't planned, but they also weren't ruled out. And it goes on. Where's this? I'm looking for this engineering executive that was also really great. What Zuckerberg meant became clearer when the following week an engineering executive at the company, Maher Saba, told managers they needed to identify people on their team who need support by 5 p.m. the following Monday and exit people who are unable to get on track.
Fantastic.
If a direct report is coasting or a low performer, they are not who we need.
Where has this been?
They are failing this company, he said in an internal post that was deleted after it was published by the information and posted on Blind, an anonymous message board for tech workers.
Is coasting. There's a lot of coasting people there.
As a manager, you cannot allow someone to be net neutral or negative for Meta.
That's great. Good, great.
So
Somebody should go walk into HR, go into the DEI department, and tell them they're done. Lean times are
coming. Lean times are coming for the coddled
I
tech
love that.
workers.
I love that. I'm a Merkenberger guy now.
Zuckerberg?
Yes, absolutely. I'm all for it. All right, ready? Chat.
Ready.
All right. Thank you. We probably should have started with the Zuckerberg thing.
Sorry.
But you had to talk about receipts. Thanks, Alice.
We had to cancel the Bear and Twink orgy in fear of monkeypox. Gotta stay safe. Gotta stay safe.
Is that true? I'm not even sure. What does that mean? What do those terms mean, Alice? You're familiar with the geek. Are you sure?
I don't know what the terms mean.
All right.
Hey, Tom.
Hey.
I typically don't complain, but geez Louise, last night.
Yeah.
Your podcast.
What?
Very disappointing. You were so freaking cranky.
Was I?
You know, we put on the podcast to be informed.
What was that last night? Was I cranky?
I don't know. Somebody else did say, too, that you need a vacation because you're getting something that you're, whatever you are, cranky. As another word for cranky. I forget what it was. Is this Phil?
Yes. Hold on. Was I cranky?
I don't know.
I cannot remember what I was, but I was last night. That was after 5 hours of doing stuff. I got to say, in my own defense.
So you talked about student loans.
I kind of felt pretty good about yesterday. I think I thought pretty good.
Somebody else said you were all in the last
growth. What do? We disappear recession. Well, okay. So now there have been no recessions, or is this is
0.6 unemployment. People are living not in a recession. It's the same.
Can you check the levels of the because I just messed
my
with stuff.
levels here are perfect.
Okay, so it's still perfect. Okay, good. So that's somebody's levels right there.
The recovery at this point.
Formula coming.
Horse.
15% for what period of time?
More
Brian?
spin horse.
The overall national.
Since you gave obviously are in like the vaccine.
Then are very promiscuous.
Right, because they have more opportunity.
Right, more opportunities. Not a whole blanket. I found it sound charming. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to disagree.
Yeah, I don't know. Compared to how you've been sometimes, I'm trying to look for somebody.
Thank you, Alice.
Somebody
and
said
entertained.
you were grumpy or something.
If I wanted some miserable complainer, I'd put on The View. I mean, really, gee. So if you're going to be cranky in the future, just get the hell off the podcast. Let Alice do it herself.
Thank you.
There's been a little too much damn Alice support, by the way, Phil. Between all the people gushing over her on WTIC, and I hope a lot of it's just blind pandering, or the guys are just horny. I hope that that this isn't actually a groundswell of support. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I mean, I just don't want to listen to a whiny little bitch. Terrible last night.
What?
So, sorry to be so harsh, but we really need you to ditch the poor attitude.
Thank you for your honest feedback. I like
because
that.
Alice is just always so upbeat and perky. Let her run it solo if you're going to be like that. All right? Again, sorry for being so tough on you, but I figured somebody needs to let you know. All right. Have a good evening.
You too, Phil. Thank you. Look at you, basking. You probably didn't hear the whiny little bitch part, Alice. Your husband attacked by a listener.
Phil was very positive. I welcome honest feedback.
What? Yeah. By the way, not accepted. And by the way, Phil came off a little hot under the collar there. Don't you think? Absolutely.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Oh, what the? Steve, damn it. You didn't put your name in, so I'm not ready for you.
What do you mean?
I wasn't ready. I figured that this is just as anonymous. Now I'm not ready. I'm on my heels already because I got accosted by Phil. Oh.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey, Steve.
Not for nothing, but I've been misidentified as a caller twice in the past week. And once by Tom and today by Alice.
Whoa.
The
I'm
caller
sorry.
who asked about Tom's cigarette boat impression was identified by Tom as Dan.
Oh.
And then Alice said it was Steve.
I thought
Even
you said
I'm
it.
confused
Sorry.
right now.
Sorry.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I apologize.
I apologize. I
don't-
can't see the screener from here.
And no. You don't. No. Steve now and I are allies again.
Against me?
Yes,
okay,
against
I'm
you.
sorry.
Merrimack
I apologize,
and
Steve.
our town have united against you, and you and Phil can now be buddies. I've had enough.
I'm sorry,
No.
Steve. I apologize.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. I endeavor to make the most fruitful outcome of our new.
I'll buy you a beer at the new Old Oak.
You're not buying anybody anything. No, you don't have anything.
Thank you, everybody, for calling the Chat.
Except for Phil.
We appreciate that, especially Steve, who I'm extremely sorry I misidentified. I'm sorry. And,
Whoa, that's a shot at Dan.
what?
It's a shot at Dan.
How is that a shot at Dan?
Because what's wrong with calling him Dan? Dan's a great guy.
Everybody's great people. I have no problem with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry
Battle
when I
lines have been drawn,
disidentified.
by the way. Danny from Billerica, by the way, which is where your buddy Kirk, the Weasel Minahan, is from. He crawled his way with the other nouveau riche into Winchester, to the good side of town, while I had been, and then complains about Dr. Dan, who had been torturing me for years. And then they called me fat yesterday, Alice. Again and again. Get in this fray,
You are
Alice.
fat.
What?
I mean,
how? I can't believe
that activists are trying to reclaim that term.
Alice,
I think you should own it.
I'm in transition, all right?
I don't even know what to say.
matter.
I can't believe it's not Friday already. I'm exhausted. I'm sorry I misidentified you, Steve, okay? And I'm sorry, Dan, if I somehow offended you. I'm sorry to everybody. I like you all, and I hope you have a great weekend. We'll talk to you Sunday.